His suit jacket was inside out on the laundry table, the lining split open like a wound, when something hard slid down the sleeve and smacked the metal edge. A phone. Not his usual one. A second phone, buzzing like it was trying to escape. The garage door groaned. I snatched it and shoved the jacket over the torn seam, thread dangling like I'd been caught mid-crime. The buzz kept pulsing against my palm, warm and alive. Water started running in the kitchen. He was home, washing his hands, casual, like he hadn't left a whole secret stitched into his clothes. I moved down the hall without letting the floor creak, the phone pressed to my thigh. The screen lit for a second, no lock, and a banner flashed before I could breathe. I didn't read it fast enough. The faucet cut off. Silence snapped into the house so clean it felt intentional. He'd been like this lately, asking questions like a prosecutor. Who was I texting? Why did I smile at my screen? Why did I take my phone to the bathroom? Little traps disguised as jokes. My bedroom door clicked shut behind me. I held the second phone up and finally forced my thumb to wake it again. The banner came back. Room 612 Red Heart. My stomach went tight and hollow at the same time. Footsteps shifted in the hallway. Not walking past. Pausing. I froze with the phone glowing in my hands, waiting for the doorknob to rattle, waiting to hear him say my name like he already knew. Then I heard a cabinet open. A plate clink. The normal sounds resumed, just enough to make me doubt the silence had been for me. I opened the messages. The name at the top was Mara. The latest line hit first, bright and fresh like it had been sent seconds ago. Mara, same time tomorrow? Don't bring drama. My throat tightened. I scrolled up, fast, because the only thing worse than proof is the moment you realize it's been going on longer than you thought. Him, I'm not the idiot anymore. I felt heat rush to my face, then drain away. Him, I saw what I saw. Mara, so this is revenge. Him, call it whatever you want. Revenge. He wasn't even pretending it was love. He was using her like a weapon. A floorboard popped somewhere outside my room. Not loud, not accidental. A warning. I backed up until my calves hit the bed and my fingers went numb around the phone. I told myself to stop reading, to put it back, to survive the next 10 seconds. Instead I swiped into photos. Not nudes. Not hotel selfies. Evidence. The first photo made my vision tunnel. My car in our driveway, passenger seat visible through the window, and a man's jacket tossed there like someone had just climbed out. He'd circled it in red. That jacket was my dad's. My dad, who'd visited, who'd laughed about forgetting it, who'd hugged my husband like family. My husband had looked at that and decided I was cheating. The next photo was worse because it wasn't a screenshot. It was taken from across the street. Me stepping out of my car outside Liv's building, grocery bag in my hand, my head turned like I'd sensed someone watching. He'd zoomed in on my face. He'd underlined the timestamp. My breath came shallow. There were more, so many more. Thumbnails of normal moments turned into proof, a whole gallery of my life interpreted like a crime scene. I didn't have time to count them. The hallway went quiet again. Not the kind of quiet that happens when someone sits down. The kind that happens when someone stands still to listen. My own phone on the nightstand buzzed once, a soft little ping from an innocent group chat, and the sound felt like a gunshot in the silence. The doorknob shifted, just a fraction, like he was testing if it was locked. I clamped a hand over my mouth, heart hammering, eyes locked on the door, while the second phone buzzed again in my other hand. A new message popped up over the screen. Mara, you sure she doesn't know? I didn't even have to open it. I already knew his answer, because he'd written it 100 different ways in those screenshots. He thought I was guilty. He thought he was justified. And the worst part wasn't that he'd cheated. It was that he'd built himself a courtroom inside our marriage and made me the defendant without telling me I was on trial. The door handle turned harder. I shoved the phone under my pillow like it was burning me, yanked the torn jacket behind the hamper, and forced my voice out before my fear could choke it. Yeah, I called, too bright. Just changing. A beat. His laugh came through the wood, soft, almost pleased. Changing, he repeated, like it meant something else. My skin prickled. His footsteps moved away, then stopped, right outside, close enough that I could picture his shadow on the carpet. My husband's regular phone started ringing in the kitchen, loud and impatient. He didn't answer it. The footsteps came back heavier, decisive, and the bedroom door swung open without a knock. He filled the frame, eyes already cutting straight to the bed, straight to the pillow. I didn't move. I couldn't. Every muscle in me held its breath. He shut the door behind him like he planned to stay. He walked closer like this was his scene, not mine. Funny thing, he said, voice low, calm, rehearsed, about secrets. His hand reached for the pillow, and when his fingers touched the fabric, he smiled, small, sharp, certain. So, he said, eyes never leaving mine, you finally found it. His fingers sank into my pillow and came out with the second phone like he'd been reaching for a weapon he already knew was loaded. He didn't glance at the screen. He watched my face, waiting for the flinch. The phone's display stayed awake, too bright, and I noticed something I hadn't in my panic. The top corner had a faint red glow, like a tiny eye that didn't blink. "You found it," he said, calm as a man reading a verdict. "Good." I swallowed and my tongue felt stuck to the roof of my mouth. He lifted the phone between us. Room 612 Red Heart sat there like a joke with teeth. "Cute," I managed. "You're leaving hearts on hotel rooms now." His smile barely moved. "You tell me what it is." He stepped sideways, blocking the line to the door without touching it, without touching me, like he'd practiced how to trap someone politely. Behind him the lock clicked. Not an accident. Not the house settling. He'd turned it. My eyes went to the knob, then to his pocket. A small bulge. Keys. My ribs tightened around my lungs. "Did you just lock?" "Shoo," he said, and it wasn't a hush. It was a command. No running. No grabbing your phone and calling your little, whoever. The red glow on the screen stayed there. I couldn't stop seeing it. He swiped, slow, and the message thread with Mara opened. His thumb hovered like he was enjoying the power of choosing what I saw. He read one line out loud, soft, almost tender. "I'm not the idiot anymore." Then he lifted his eyes. "That's the part you don't get. I'm not doing this because I wanted to. I'm doing it because I'm done being played." My pulse pounded in my ears. Played by who? His gaze flicked to my nightstand. My phone lay there, dark, innocent, and suddenly it looked like a grenade. "You," he said. The word landed clean, heavy, like he'd been waiting months to say it. He tapped the screen and shoved it toward me. A photo filled the display. My car in our driveway, passenger seat visible through the window, and a man's jacket tossed there like someone had just climbed out. A red circle drawn around it with a thick angry line. My hands went numb. "That's my dad's jacket." His face didn't change. No embarrassment. No doubt. Just a small nod, like he'd expected that exact sentence. "Sure," he said. He swiped again. The next image was from across the street, me outside Liv's building, grocery bag in my hand, timestamp underlined. He'd zoomed in on my face like it was a mugshot. He didn't ask me why. He just said, 47 minutes. My throat tightened until my words scraped. "I brought her food." "Right," he said, like he'd heard that one too. "And the next one? And the next one? Because I've got dozens." He flicked his thumb, and the thumbnails flashed past. Little frozen squares of my normal life turned into a montage of guilt. I didn't even get to see them clearly before he stopped and held the screen steady again. "On purpose. Mara, same time tomorrow? Don't bring drama." His eyes lifted to mine. "She doesn't like drama." "I do." The house felt too quiet. Even the fridge hum sounded like it was holding its breath. I took a careful step toward the door. He mirrored me instantly, cutting me off, shoulders squared, his calm slipping just enough to show the steel underneath. "Don't," he said. "I'm not staying in here with you," I said, and my voice came out steadier than my hands felt. "Not like this." His smile sharpened. "Like what?" "Like someone finally watching you back." I reached toward the knob anyway, fingers almost brushing metal. He moved faster than I expected, not violent, not loud, just efficient. His hand slapped over the knob above mine, trapping my fingers against the cold brass. Pain sparked up my knuckles. He leaned close, voice low. "You don't get to leave while I'm still missing the truth." He released me like he was being generous, and I pulled my hand back, flexing it, trying not to show how much that small pressure scared me. The red glow in the corner of the second phone was still there. My gaze snagged on it again. He noticed. His eyes darted to the screen, then back to me, and something like satisfaction flickered across his face. He turned the phone slightly, letting the mirror on my dresser catch it. In the reflection, the tiny red dot was clearer. Recording. My stomach dropped so hard I felt it in my knees. "You're filming," I whispered. He didn't deny it. He didn't even bother. "I'm documenting," he corrected, and he said it like he was proud. "Because when this gets ugly, I'm not going to be the guy everyone points at." My mouth went dry. "You're making a tape of me reacting to your cheating." He tilted his head. "No. I'm making a tape of my wife getting caught." The rage came hot, but it didn't have anywhere to go. It just burned behind my teeth. "Unlock the door," I said. He looked at me like I'd asked him to hand over his spine. "Not yet." My phone buzzed once on the nightstand, a soft vibration that shouldn't have mattered. His head snapped toward it so fast it was terrifying. "There," he said, pointing like a kid spotting blood in water. "Right there." "It's nothing," I said, and the lie tasted like soap because it wasn't even a lie. It was a group chat. It was memes. It was Liv's mom's medication updates. It was everything except what he'd decided it was. He took one step toward it. I moved first, faster, and slapped my palm down over my phone like I could smother the sound. His eyes flicked to my hand, then to my face. "Unlock," he said. One word. The room shrank around it. No, I said. His jaw tightened, and his calm peeled back like a mask. Then we do this my way, he said, and he reached into his pocket. Keys jingled. He didn't throw them. He didn't drop them. He spun them once around his finger, slow, like a countdown. I already printed the paperwork, he said. Retainers paid. Appointments on the calendar. Tomorrow morning, I file. My lungs forgot how to work for a second. He held up the second phone, the recording dot still glowing, and angled it at me more directly, like a lens. You're going to say it, he murmured. Clear. On camera. My nails dug into the edge of my phone. Say what? He smiled, and this time it wasn't sharp. It was cold. Say you've been seeing him, he said. Say you've been lying. Say I found out and I'm leaving. My stomach rolled. That's not true. He leaned in, close enough that I could smell his aftershave, close enough to make my skin crawl. 3, he said softly. I stared at him, my mind racing, searching for any exit that didn't exist. 2, he said, and the keys clicked against his palm. The red dot stared at me like a tiny target. And 1, he whispered, holding the phone inches from my face. Go on. Tell the camera you didn't cheat. The phone hovered inches from my face, the red dot burning in the corner, and I kept my lips still half a second too long, just to feel how badly he wanted me to crack. I didn't cheat, I said, flat and clear. I've never cheated. His smile twitched. He hated how calm it sounded. Again, he said, pushing the camera closer like he could shove the truth into a different shape. I've never cheated. He shifted, blocking the door without even looking at it. The keys in his fist clicked once. Unlock, he said, eyes flicking to my nightstand. No. The calm slid off his face. Then we do this my way. He turned the screen toward himself and tapped a contact labeled ATTY. His thumb hovered over call like it was a blade. My stomach tightened. Call, I said. That surprised him. He hit it anyway. The ringtone filled the room. 1, 2, 3. Voicemail. His jaw clenched. He ended the call fast, like the silence insulted him. My phone buzzed on the nightstand and his head snapped to it, predator fast. There, he said. That's him. It's a calendar, I said, and my voice came out dry. He reached for my phone. I moved first and covered it with my palm. His hand stopped an inch above mine, hovering. Then he chose pressure. My fingers stung. Unlock, he repeated. I didn't move. The screen under my hand lit again from the buzz. He leaned, trying to catch a glimpse, and I let him, because I needed him to see how he was twisting air into guilt. Dad, cardiology follow-up 6:30 p.m. His eyes flickered. Confusion. Then a quick, irritated recalculation. You see Dad and you still want it to be a lover, I said. One sentence. No explaining. His nostrils flared. His pressure increased like he was offended by reality. Don't act like I'm insane, he said. He jerked the second phone up, recording dot still glowing, and angled it at me like a courtroom camera. He didn't need the truth. He needed a clip. The second phone buzzed. His eyes dropped before he could stop himself. A banner lit the screen. Mara, saved. Did she take the bait? My blood went cold. Bait. He stared at the message, thumb hovering, and I watched him decide to use it. He turned the screen toward me on purpose. My heart kicked once, then steadied. I smiled. Loose thread. You want a clip? I said softly, looking straight into the camera. His eyes brightened, finally. Good, he murmured. Go on. I kept my voice calm, careful, sharp. Record that you locked the door. And record that you and Mara called this bait. His smugness cracked. Stop, he snapped. I didn't raise my voice. My dad's appointment is in my phone. Your evidence is you circling my life in red marker. His fingers closed around my wrist, tighter, like he was trying to squeeze the words back into my throat. Stop talking, he said again, louder, and the keys rattled like a warning bell. The red dot still glowed. I gave it one more clean line anyway. He's forcing me to say things on video. The change was instant. He lunged, not at me, but at the nightstand, and snatched my phone in one violent motion like he'd finally won something. Unlocked, he said, breath sharp, triumphant. My stomach dropped because it wasn't unlocked. His thumb swiped. Black screen. He tried again, faster. Still locked. His face tightened, then flushed, then went flat with anger. He snapped his gaze to the second phone, panic flashing for the first time, and stabbed at the screen. The red dot vanished. The recording stopped. The game changed. My mouth went dry. For a beat, he looked unsteady. Then the emptiness slid back into his smile. No camera, he said softly. Now we can be honest. He dangled the keys right in front of my face, slow, taunting, and I realized he wasn't just keeping me in. He was keeping time until someone arrived. He glanced down at the second phone and opened Mara's thread again. No hesitation now. His thumb moved fast. Then he turned the screen toward me. She didn't take it. We're doing plan B. My stomach dropped through the floor. Plan B meant, not words. He looked up and smiled like he'd already chosen what I'd be by the end of the night, and he flicked the lock again, just to let me hear it. Silence. The lock clicked again, and the silence after it felt like a held breath. He stared at me like he was waiting for my body to betray me first. Plan B, I said, because hearing it out loud made it real. He slipped the keys into his pocket with a slow, deliberate motion, like he wanted me to remember where the exit lived. You had your chance to be reasonable. He took one step back, then another, and the space between us felt staged, like he was placing us on marks. I kept my hands visible. Who's coming? His smile didn't reach his eyes. A witness. My stomach tightened. Mara. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. He glanced at the second phone, then tossed it onto the bed like it was suddenly worthless. The screen flashed once, Mara's name still there, then dimmed. I moved without thinking. My fingers closed around it, and the warmth of it hit my palm like a pulse. His head snapped up. Don't. I backed toward the dresser, keeping my face blank, thumb already moving. No lock. Still open. I tapped the thread and hit forward on the last messages, the ones that mattered, my eyes barely tracking my own actions. Did she take the bait? We're doing Plan B. I typed Liv's number from memory, hands steady in a way that scared me, and sent it. Then I sent it again to the one other number I knew by heart. My dad's. A second later, the second phone buzzed as if it had flinched. My husband lunged. I twisted sideways, and his hand caught my shoulder instead of the phone. His fingers dug in, hard enough to leave marks later. He shoved me back a half step, and my spine hit the dresser with a dull thud. You think you're clever, he hissed, low, controlled. That's adorable. My grip tightened around the phone. You called it bait. His eyes flicked to the screen in my hand, then back to my face, and his expression didn't deny it. It calculated. He released my shoulder and straightened his shirt like he was resetting the scene. You don't understand what you just did. My breath came shallow. Then explain it. He smiled. No. He turned away from me and walked to the laundry table like he'd done this 100 times in his head. He picked up my seam ripper. The tiny metal hook glinted under the light, harmless in any normal hand. In his, it looked like intent. He held it up between his fingers and looked at me, almost curious. You're going to stay calm, right? My throat tightened. Put that down. He didn't. He dragged the seam ripper across the inside of his forearm in one quick motion, not deep, but enough for a thin red line to bloom. I froze. He watched my face as the color rose, like he was studying a reaction shot. Then he dropped the seam ripper back on the table and lifted his arm, inspecting the mark like an artist checking his work. Perfect, he murmured. My stomach turned to ice. You're insane. He walked back toward me and held his arm out, showing me the red line. This is what you did when you realized you were caught, he said, practicing the sentence like he was reading it off a script. I shook my head slowly, because any sudden movement felt like it would become proof. That's not going to work. Oh, it will, he said, and his eyes slid to the second phone in my hand. Because you grabbed my phone. Because you tried to leave. Because you've been acting guilty for months. All I need is the right moment. He pulled his regular phone from his pocket and tapped the screen. My chest tightened. Who are you calling? He didn't look up. The people who show up when a man says he's scared in his own home. The word scared made bile climb my throat. The call connected. I heard the faint operator voice. He put it on speaker just enough for me to hear the performance. My wife is out of control, he said, voice suddenly shaky, breathy, perfect. She attacked me. I locked myself in the bedroom. Please send someone. My skin went cold all over. The room tilted, like my body didn't know which way safety was. He kept his eyes on me while he spoke, watching for any sound he could use. I made myself silent. The operator asked questions. He answered smoothly, weaving my calm into his story like it was menace. She's been cheating, he added, and he let that word hang like a weapon. When I confronted her, she snapped. He glanced at the thin red line on his arm and let his voice crack at exactly the right time. I don't know what she'll do. I held the second phone so tight my knuckles ached. The operator said help was on the way. He ended the call and the room snapped back into the kind of quiet that comes right before impact. He looked at me and smiled like he'd just pushed the first domino. Now, he said softly, you're going to do exactly what I say. A sharp knock hit the front door. Not a neighborly knock. Not a polite one. A timed knock. His eyes flicked toward the hallway like he'd been counting down to it. Keeping time. My blood turned colder. That's her. He didn't deny it. He walked to the bedroom door and slid the key into the lock with a slow twist that made my stomach curl. He opened it just enough to create a new danger, an audience. Stay right there, he said, and his voice was gentle, like he was speaking to a dog that might bite. He stepped out into the hall and called, come in. Footsteps entered the house without hesitation. Not careful, not confused, familiar. A woman's laugh floated down the hallway, light and wrong in our home. Then she appeared in the doorway. Mara was prettier than her name in a chat thread. Her hair was perfect, her lipstick fresh, her eyes bright like she was arriving for drinks, not for destruction. And she didn't look at him first. She looked at me, like I was the problem she'd been hired to solve. "Hi," she said sweetly, and held up her phone. The camera lens was already pointed at me. "Don't freak out, okay? We just want to talk." My husband stepped beside her, arm angled so the red line showed. He didn't have to say a word. She saw it and her mouth dropped open in a practiced little gasp. "Oh my God." I stared at her phone. "You're recording." She tilted her head, all innocence. "After what you did?" "Yeah. For safety." My husband's voice turned soft again, the one he used when he wanted to sound reasonable. "Tell her what you told me," he said, looking at me like I was a ticking bomb. "Tell her who he is." Mara's eyes flicked to his pocket, keys, then back to me, like she was checking that the cage was still locked. I tightened my grip on the second phone behind my back. Mara smiled, bright and cruel. "If you behave," she said, "this can be easy." My heart slammed once, hard, because I finally understood what Plan B was. Plan B wasn't about catching me cheating. Plan B was about making sure someone else believed it. A louder knock hit the front door, followed by a voice that made my blood stop. "Police, open the door." My husband's smile widened, and Mara's camera didn't blink. "Police, open the door." My husband opened it with his scared face already on, like the knock was his cue. Two officers stepped in, eyes sweeping fast, then landing on the thin red line on his arm. Mara hovered behind him with her phone up, camera pointed straight at me. "She attacked me," he said, voice shaky and perfect. I had to lock myself in. The taller officer's eyes flicked to Mara's phone. "Ma'am, put it away." Mara lowered it a fraction, not off, just enough to pretend. The other officer looked past my husband at me. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" "No," I said, hands visible, voice steady. My husband made a small broken sound. "That's how she is. Calm. It's how she manipulates people." The taller officer cut him off with a palm. "Sir, step back." He did, slow, resentful, like he couldn't believe the room wasn't still his. I brought the second phone out from behind my back like it was a flare. "I found this," I said. "In his jacket. It's why he locked me in." My husband's eyes flashed. Mara's did too. The officers took the phone. Quick, careful. The taller one scrolled once, then stopped like he'd hit something sharp. His eyes lifted. "This says, did she take the bait?" My husband's mouth opened. Mara started. "It's quiet," the officer said, without even looking at her. He scrolled again. "And this," he read, flat, "says, we're doing Plan B." My husband's face tightened, then tried to reset into confusion. "That's a joke. She's just a friend. My wife has been cheating Anne." "Sir," the other officer said, stepping closer. "Stop talking." Mara's camera hand twitched like she wanted to raise it again. The taller officer's eyes cut to her. "Put it away. Now." She shoved it into her purse like it burned. My husband's gaze snapped to my nightstand, to my phone, like he could still win if he could just get one more piece. "What's on her phone?" he blurted, desperate. "She hides it." Sir," the taller officer said, harder, and he moved between us. "Back." My husband took a step forward anyway. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I pointed at the bedroom hallway. "Check the lock." He had the key. He wouldn't let me out. The other officer nodded once, like that was enough, and moved down the hall. A moment later I heard it, metal scraping, a try at the knob, then a quiet, confirming, "Locked." He returned with his eyes colder. "Sir, you locked her in a bedroom?" My husband's throat worked. "I locked myself in." The officer's stare didn't blink. "With the key in your pocket." My husband's hand twitched toward his pocket on instinct, then stopped when he realized what he'd done. The front door banged again, louder, frantic. My dad's voice cut through the house like a siren. "Where is she?" My husband turned, startled, and that tiny loss of control was all it took. The performance wobbled. My dad pushed into the entryway, breath hard, eyes locked on me. He took one look at my face, then at my husband's arm, then at the officers. "What did you do?" my dad said, low. My husband snapped, "This is none of that jacket you circled?" My dad cut in, voice shaking with anger. "That was mine. I left it here. You hugged me, you idiot." Mara went still. Not shocked, calculating. My husband's eyes darted to her like he wanted rescue. She gave him nothing. The taller officer looked at my husband. "Sir, turn around." My husband laughed, sharp and disbelieving. "Seriously? Because of a text?" "Because of unlawful restraint," the officer said, voice like a door shutting. "And because you called in a domestic incident with evidence you staged." My stomach flipped at the word restraint. It made the air feel official, real, heavy. My husband's face changed fast, anger to panic to a soft mask he'd used on me 1,000 times. Babe, he said, and my skin crawled. Tell them it's a misunderstanding. I didn't answer. He lunged, sudden, toward the second phone in the officer's hand. The officer pivoted and shoved him back. Don't. My husband's hand caught the officer's sleeve for a split second. That was all it took. The other officer grabbed his wrists. Metal clicked. Handcuffs. Mara flinched and took one quick step toward the doorway, then froze when the taller officer glanced at her. Stay, he said. We'll talk to you next. Her eyes dropped. Her fingers clenched her purse, and I saw her thumb move inside it, fast, secret, like she'd just sent something anyway. My stomach dropped again. My husband twisted his head toward me, eyes bright with hate. You're going to regret this, he hissed, quiet enough to be mine. The taller officer's voice cut in, procedural. Ma'am, you're coming with us to separate you. Grab what you need. My hand shook as soon as the decision was out of my mouth, like my body finally remembered it was allowed to be afraid. I walked past my husband without looking at him, past Mara's perfume and her blank smile, past my dad, who stepped in front of me like a shield. Outside, the cruiser lights painted the driveway blue and white. Behind me, my husband kept talking, still trying to spin it, still trying to sell it, his voice getting swallowed by radios and footsteps. As they guided him toward the car, his keys slipped from his pocket and skittered across the concrete, tiny and useless, until they stopped under the front tire. Mara's phone buzzed once in her purse, and I knew, cold, clear, that somewhere, there was already another copy of the story he'd tried to build.